The next true story of when Australia lost its innocence and our nation changed forever. Underbelly, a tale of two cities.
This is Win News.
Tonight, the Premier guarantees frontline staff he won't slash their jobs. The sacked workers' fury over fat cat pay rises to bosses at Pacific Brands. And Ben Cousins' return to football ends in hospital. Good evening, I'm John Rivers. The state government says it's not going to slash public service jobs. Teachers, nurses and police are safe, but the Premier says there will be cuts. However, he's not saying what he's going to cut or how much money he wants to save.
Premier Bartlett emerged from a meeting with senior public servants with good news for some.
The government would be moving to protect, indeed quarantine, frontline services in health, education, police and in our infrastructure spend.
Mr Bartlett says the challenges of the global financial crisis mean the state must tighten its belt. He says there'll be no wholesale job cuts, rather other measures like not filling vacant positions, phased-in retirement and cutting out extras like cars and mobile phones. A first step closing the government's Canberra office, saving $400,000 a year. The Premier won't provide detail on exactly how much the government needs to save. The opposition parties say that amounts to indecisive leadership, which isn't good enough.
To now tell them that we've got to wait till the middle of the year before anyone gets a clear understanding of what the government's doing to manage our economy is totally unacceptable.
This is classic David Bartlett. He is the thought bubble Premier. Lots of words, no action, no clarity and no involvement in public sector workers in decisions about their own future.
The public sector union says its members have their own suggestions on where savings could be made, like allowing more part-time work and leave without pay.
The Premier needs to ask the question and honestly seek feedback from public servants, his employees and members of this community before making any moves to do anything drastic.
Unions will meet with the Premier on Monday to discuss cutback options. Penny Younger, Win News.
Anger over job cuts has turned to fury over a massive pay rise for the head of Pacific Brands. More than 1,800 sacked workers have learned that their CEO's salary jumped from $686,000 to $1.8 million, even as the company was preparing massive cutbacks.
Devastated at losing their jobs, Pacific Brands workers say they are now sickened. Their CEO scored a staggering $1.2 million pay rise last year as she drew up plans to sack them.
That's actually, I'm going to say the word sucks, right? Because they got the raise and we got the sack.
Her stinks. What we earn is just only a change from her pay.
The salary of CEO Sue Morford jumped last year from $685,000 to more than $1.8 million. At the same time, the share price plummeted 45%.
And to see that a privileged few are doing so well at a time when thousands of workers are being retrenched is frankly sickening.
It's just obscene that you would have someone taking that kind of salary knowing that they were going to sack workers who earn barely more than the minimum wage.
13 other Pacific Brands executives scored pay rises of up to 170% last year.
Of course, Sue Morford isn't the highest paid CEO in the country, but the timing of her pay rise cannot be worse, with these employees now facing a struggle to find work in a tightening jobs market. 2,000 sacked workers, now the backlash. The ACTU says those celebrities, Sarah Murdoch, Pat Rafter and Michael Clark, who endorsed bombs, should sever all ties with the company. The Transport Workers Union says it will block any attempts to move Pacific Brand machinery overseas, equipment the union says was funded by government grants.
This is spitting in the face of every taxpayer in this country.
Sue Morford declined to defend her pay rise. All was quiet at her home in the Melbourne suburb of Hawthorn. It's on the market for $3.2 million. Mark Burrows, 9 News.
There was some good news on the jobs front today, with retail giant Woolworths set to create 7,000 full-time positions before June after posting a profit of $983 million. The company says it's already added 9,000 jobs this financial year with the opening of 122 new stores.
$1 spent in Woolies generates at least another $2 and maybe $3, but more importantly, there's a wonderful flow-on effect of jobs.
Treasurer Wayne Swan says the news is a vote of confidence in the Australian economy. The operator of 2 big West Coast mines is continuing discussions with the European banking syndicate to refinance the company's $1.25 billion debt. Oz Minerals has been given another month to finalise plans. The company owns the Avebury nickel mine near Zeehan and Rosebery zinc mine, which has recently slashed jobs. In other finance news, the share market finished unchanged today, with the All Ords losing only half a point. The market was held back by a 6.5% fall in Woolworths shares after its profit result came in weaker than analysts had hoped. Now, dollars weaker, buying 64.6 US cents. Mr. Rudd is going to Washington, the Prime Minister, to meet US President Barack Obama later next month. Main items on the agenda: a coordinated international response to the economic crisis and dealing with the conflict in Afghanistan. Mr. Rudd says they'll also discuss the challenges of climate change and nuclear disarmament. They'll meet on the 24th of March. Opponents of the proposed canal estate development at Ralphs Bay in the state's south are joining forces to build what they say is a strong case against the plan. Birds Tasmania, the Conservation Trust and the Wilderness Society are among those working on a critique of Walker Corporation's integrated impact statement of the planned development.
Everything that's been happening up to now was purely training for the game. Walker has now hit the very first ball over the net, and we're sure as hell going to hit it back.
Walker says the economic and social benefits of its plan, now with the Resource Planning and Development Commission, will outweigh negative environmental impacts. Save Ralphs Bay is urging concerned Tasmanians to lodge their submissions with the RPDC by April the 6th. It's 2 months late, but safe drinking water should start to flow into Ross by the middle of next week. The parched Northern Midlands town had been promised treated water by Christmas, but problems with a new pipeline bringing water from Campbelltown to Ross and water quality forced the delay. The Northern Midlands Council has been trucking water into Ross weekly for the past 2 years after the town's original water supply, Tombs Lake, became infected with deadly green algae. A ban on drinking water from the pipeline is expected to be lifted by the Health Department on Wednesday. It's been a long time coming, but Swansea residents will soon be able to drink from their taps. Construction has started on an $8.5 million project to provide a safe water supply.
Swansea's water is not only too contaminated to drink, but it's only just bearable to bathe in.
You want a bath in Swansea, and if it doesn't have to be very much, and you can't see the bottom of your bathtub. Now that's not, you go there, you go, ugh.
The Water Minister was all smiles today as he kicked off construction on the town's $8.5 million water project, jointly initiated by the state government, Glamorgan Spring Bay Council and Hobart Water. A 400 megalitre storage dam, pipelines and a water treatment plant will be completed by the end of the year.
I think it's significant that we're moving into a new phase of water development around Tasmania, or the ability for us to fund a lot of regional projects that have been wanting to be funded for a very long period of time.
For a coastal town that relies heavily on tourism, a reliable source of fresh water is a necessity long overdue.
It will put the town more on the map. It will attract people to come here, to stay longer, to enjoy Swansea.
The government loaned almost $2 million interest-free to the development, with local ratepayers expected to be billed up to an extra $60 a year to cover the remaining costs over 13 years. April Hosking, Win News.
4 large blazes are continuing to rage across Victoria, but for the most part the state avoided any further devastation, despite horror predictions. Attention's now turning to Tuesday, when it's expected to get much hotter and windier.
All Victorians, including those who live in Melbourne, were warned not to be complacent about today's horror conditions. And soon enough, a blaze broke out in Melbourne's eastern suburbs, a grass fire taking hold in Templestowe behind the Pines shopping centre. The directive from authorities this morning was loud and clear.
The fundamental message remains that there is activity that you don't need to do in this high fire danger situation, then don't do it. Stay at home.
don't travel unless it's essential. If you don't have to be out there, then don't be there.
No resources were spared for today, and firefighters at Dramana quickly contained a grass and scrub fire that took off near Arthur's Seat.
So it brought extra aircraft on to position themselves for the fires.
It's been almost 3 weeks since Black Saturday, and with the images of blackened towns like Kinglake and Marysville firmly in mind, regional communities went into preparation mode last night.
If, for whatever reason, we can't put that fire out, it has the potential to develop very quickly.
In Daylesford, hundreds attended a community meeting. A large fire just south of the town has been burning out of control now for 4 days.
With the winds in a certain direction, we could easily be under attack, so we've come to see how bad it really is.
Our previous theory was that we'd stay and fight, but we're not quite sure now.
It's a decision that continues to split families.
My daughter and I are wondering whether to leave, but my husband's quite adamant he's going to stay.
Ahead on Win News, the tea that could help you lose weight, and the stars from Slumdog Millionaire arrive home to a hero's welcome.
Their bloody war destroyed her family.
Leave all this behind you and start fresh.
Now, the retaliation begins.
I'm available, boss.
You want to knock Ray Chuck, do you? The explosive tale so far is just the beginning.
Where's your dog of a mate?
The most gripping episode
That bastard wants to be left alone with Chopper Raid.
starts now. Kate Ritchie shines. Underbelly, Monday, 8:30.
Summer is about living, having the time to do the things that you want to do. Sharing time with the sun, baiting a hook, just being away from it all. This is living.
WeLoveSummer.com.au. Visit us today.
Bodies don't clash for commentators, and magic isn't created for money. Every week, 352 players run onto a field for you. That's why you need Fox Sports. With every AFL game and up to 4 games live a week, it's all for you. Spend less on going out and see all the action by subscribing to Ozstar. Install now for just $10. Call 132342.
If you see trees growing too close to power lines, call Aurora on 132004. Because nothing is more important than your safety.
1,000 days, no deposit, interest-free at Harvey Norman. That's no deposit, no interest until November 2011. 1,000 days, interest-free on entertainment and household appliances, computers, printers and mobile technology. 1,000 days, no deposit, interest-free on furniture and bedding, rugs, carpets and flooring. Get it all now with monthly repayments and 1,000 days, no deposit, interest-free. That's no deposit, no interest until November 2011. Limited time only at Harvey Norman now.
The Victorian Bushfires Appeal Community File, supported by Win Television. A bushfire benefit concert will be held at the Princess Theatre Launceston on Wednesday, March 18th. Tickets available at the Princess Theatre box office from February 16th. If you're organising a community event to raise money for the Victorian Bushfires Appeal, get in touch with your local Lions, Rotary or Apex clubs. Every donation made to these clubs will be matched dollar for dollar up to $750,000 by the Tasmanian Government.
Welcome back. The child stars of Slumdog Millionaire have returned home to find a different world. They've been welcomed as heroes by overjoyed neighbours in their Mumbai slum. It's a place they're about to escape. The government has purchased homes for their families and the movie producers have put them in schools for a formal education. A magic evening for the Obamas when their favourite artist called by the White House. But it was no simple social call. Stevie Wonder was there to receive America's highest honour in popular music, the Gershwin Prize. By happy coincidence, Stevie's songs were the soundtrack of the Obama courtship.
The fact that we agreed on Stevie was part of the essence of our courtship. And I'm not alone.
The Obamas played Wonder's song You and I as their wedding song, a time back in 1992 when they never imagined such a remarkable night at the White House. There's a remarkable claim tonight that a simple cup of tea could hold the key to weight loss. It comes from the University of Queensland, where researchers made the discovery by accident while they were testing a local brew in the laboratory.
It just might turn out to be everybody's cup of tea.
This is potentially one of the major advances in the control of cardiovascular disease and cancers in this country.
High praise from usually ultra-cautious university researchers. But after a 3-year program, the result of tests on laboratory rats is nothing short of astounding. One group fed junk food, their blood pressure and weight increasing to alarming levels. Then they were given the tea while continuing the junk diet. After 2 months, the rat's blood pressure and weight was back to normal. Next, research to see what it could do for human obesity. This man's been drinking the tea for 3 weeks and says it's already working.
I've lost around 3 kilograms. I've gone from 99 to 96.
It seems simple enough, a green tea base.
We add the oil of the spearmint to the product. We add the olive leaf to the product. We add the antioxidants from a single glass of red wine.
Expert nutritionists say it's got a lot going for it, but weight loss?
This is not going to harm anyone. It's calorie free, it has no fat, it has certainly plenty of plant nutrients that will be great for us. But is it going to be the answer for your weight woes? I really don't think so.
Well, that's her opinion, but if people who drink this tea say they're losing about 1 kilo a week, what have I got to lose? Cheers. Peter Harvey, 9 News.
Have to get some of that. It's been revealed that Ben Cousins' comeback to football last night ended in hospital. Richmond is claiming Cousins was taken in for observation after the loss to Collingwood. He'd suffered slight concussion following a knock to the head.
As the Richmond hierarchy continues to mismanage the interest in Ben Cousins, the reluctant star was allowed a quick getaway from the club today when his car was parked alongside an exit.
How'd you pull up, Benny?
It became apparent only later that Cousins actually went to hospital last night because of concussion. According to the Tigers website, he spent several hours in casualty. But few outside the Richmond inner sanctum will know exactly how Cousins pulled up. He's not due to speak publicly for a fortnight. Any effort to extract a word or two in the meantime might be seen as an intrusion.
If anyone who intrudes to the extent that they have had someone else suffering from addiction, they wouldn't do it, because so many of the intrusions that have occurred are the very things that should be avoided for someone who is trying to recover from addiction.
Cousins wasn't camera shy in the rooms at Docklands last night. This camera, though, was the one commissioned by him for a documentary on his well-documented drug battle. On the field, there was no escaping public scrutiny. After a rusty start, which saw the Brownlow star heaving at times, Cousins showed plenty of promise.
This is the Ben Cousins of old.
After his 538-day exile from the game, Cousins collected 21 possessions.
Getting some touches, that's the important thing.
Such was the euphoria surrounding the return. Collingwood's 46-point win almost went unnoticed. Tony Jones, 9 News.
Brent joins us to continue sport. And the Bushrangers have left the Tasmanians a massive score to chase down in the Sheffield Shield, Brent.
They certainly have, John, with the former Tiger scoring a maiden first-class century, and Tiger Woods crashes out of the World Match Play Championship.